Warren pushing hard for largest seizure of private property in human history. Dangerous. Entering the fight with Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez to overthrow all that Americans hold dear with regards to freedom and liberty is Senator Elizabeth Warren, by Kara Curry for rwnofficial.com. The concept of private property is a material component in remaining a free people, as is a free economy. Both concepts are intrinsically woven into the very fabric of the foundation of this nation. The ownership of private property allows an individual economic independence, freeing the body and mind from being forced into dependence on others for shelter and sustenance. It does not guarantee it, but allows the opportunity to achieve it. Neither liberty nor the pursuit of happiness are secure without the right to acquire and hold property. Property rights and human rights are inseparable. Alexander Hamilton once stated, "Power over a man's subsistence, is power over his will." Leon Trotsky, the communist, put it more brutally. In a country where the sole employer is the state, opposition means death by slow starvation. The old principle, "Who does not work shall not eat," has been replaced by a new one, "Who does not obey shall not eat." Simply put, whoever controls the means of the existence of a people, be it by monopolistic coercion, through private individuals, or through government-sanctioned confiscation of property, has the power of life and death. Yet America is now revisiting this very foundational principle. Americans saw the beginning of this back when Al Gore was still serving as senator from Tennessee. During that time, he represented the United States at the United Nations Earth Summit on his pet topic of global warming. That summit saw 25 resolutions presented by the UN. One particular resolution gave the UN Environmental Police Force the ability and authority to cross over any border, as well as dictate to any nation in the event of any alleged environmental crisis. Yet another resolution called for the entirety of all land in the world to be placed under the jurisdiction of the United Nations. This would effectively allow the UN complete and final authority to determine who got to live where and with what resources. It would have eliminated private property ownership globally. Gore signed his approval on every single resolution as the official representative of the United States. Unfortunately for America, not enough other nations signed many of the resolutions being presented, including the two previously mentioned. They did not receive enough signatures to pass. Yet. In an effective demonstration, however, of how dangerous to the concept of liberty and freedom to life as we know it, this concept of global warming, global cooling, climate change, or whatever additional incarnation they go through to pursue truly is. From leftist factions, we have been hearing for the past 3 years Senator Bernie Sanders advocating for free, quote, Medicare for all. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York is advocating for the same, despite the fact that it would double the national budget and cost American taxpayers an additional $25,000 in taxes on an individual level. There is no such thing as free, as medical care costs money, and that money comes from somewhere, be that from taxes you are forced to pay or on a voluntary basis. Many also consider that other countries have tried such a system and it has failed on many levels. Just look at the United Kingdom and ask the parents of little Charlie Gard or the parents of little Alfie Evans, Both sets of parents were denied the ability to seek treatment elsewhere outside the country at their own personal expense. Both children died because the state did not deem them worthy of saving. This is eugenics, and this is what happens when the government decides who lives and who dies. Both Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez are admitted socialists, advocating for government control of virtually every aspect of life, including businesses. Socialism is essentially chattel slavery, and it is what our founding fathers fled from Europe to get away from. Yet here we are, yet again, fighting for those very foundational principles. And entering the fight with Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez to overthrow all that Americans hold dear with regards to freedom and liberty is Senator Elizabeth Warren. The National Review reports Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts has one-upped socialist Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She proposes to nationalize every major business in the United States of America. If successful, it would constitute the largest seizure of private property in human history. Warren's proposal is dishonestly called the Accountable Capitalism Act. Accountable to whom, you might ask? That's a reasonable question. The answer is, as it always is, accountable to politicians who desire to put the assets and productivity of private businesses under political discipline for their own selfish ends. It is remarkable that people who are most keenly attuned to the self-interest of CEOs and shareholders and the ways in which the self-interest influences their decisions apparently believe that members of the House, senators, presidents, regulators, cabinet secretaries, and agency chiefs somehow are liberated from self-interest when they take office through some kind of miracle of transcendence. Under Senator Warren's proposal, no business with more than $1 billion in revenue would be permitted to legally operate without permission from the federal government. The federal government would then dictate to these businesses the composition of their boards, the details of internal corporate governance, compensation practices, personal policies, and much more. Naturally, their political activities would be restricted too. Senator Warren's proposal entails the wholesale expropriation of private enterprise in the United States and nothing less. It is unconstitutional, unethical, immoral, irresponsible, and, not to put too fine a point on it, utterly bonkers. Warren is positioning herself to put her own hat in the ring for a 2020 bid for the White House presidential race against incumbent and current President Donald Trump. Perhaps you believe she does not have a chance of winning. Consider, if you will, that in March of 2017, a survey showed an astounding 44% of millennials actually prefer socialism over capitalism. Consider also the state of today's public school system, where school children that have never experienced the horrors of socialism are being convinced that it is preferable because it simply means being a good person. A real understanding of liberty, freedom, private property, and frankly, the difference between the government confiscating money from you to give to someone else and charitable giving. We, as the American people, have lost our way and have traded in liberty for security in exponential amounts, falling for the lie that more government is the answer for any problem that ails us, aided by the likes of Warren, Sanders, and Ocasio-Cortez. The trend can be reversed, and it must be, if we are to get out of the giant mess we are in. Wow. Can you imagine? Al Gore signed everything away, and he didn't have the signatures, enough signatures yet, and Warren is out there, but it doesn't hit home because they're talking about the billionaires. But in a sense, what they're talking about, it would cost each of us 25 grand a year in order to pay for health care for all. Who has that extra money that can pay just for the health care? What about the other expenses? I mean, Warren should be put in a psych ward. That's what I say. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.